Economic Development Trade Commission. Welcome to the Economic Development and Trade Commission. I'd like to start the meeting by call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we can all rise for the pledge. All right, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Nikki, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes.
And just to let everyone know that our chair, Norwood, had a last minute engagement and cannot make the meeting. So you guys are stuck with me today.
Starting with Vice Chair McNeil.
Here.
Commissioner Rice.
Here.
Commissioner Dariani.
Here.
Commissioner Mundra will be absent today. Commissioner Jones is absent as well as Vice Chair McNeil.
Just a note. So Commissioner Jones is, he's here, but apparently needs to be moved up.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Jones. Let me promote you to, I don't have promoting ability. IT, could I ask for your help in promoting Marshall into our meeting? Okay, great. Resuming with the roll call, Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Thank you. Chair Norwood will be absent today. And going on to alternate Commissioner Fan.
Here.
And Student Commissioner Stephen Wang.
Present.
And I'd also like to note that alternate Commissioner Fan will be seated in place of the vacant and unfilled real estate seat today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nikki.
Paul Trungwin agent or Paul Trungwin paying with the policy.
I hear noise. Okay, so just if we can go to item number 5 on the agenda, that's the approval of the agenda. And before we approve the agenda, there is a modification request to modify the agenda. On section 9B, there's a item for commissioner roles and involvement that's to be hosted by both Chair Norwood and myself. I can speak toward it, and so what I would like to propose is moving this to item 9C, and instead of making a full discussion with assignments and it just be an overview for today. So how would we word that, Alex, for the recommendation? Just a discussion on the item and to have the full-blown review at a subsequent meeting?
Yeah, you know, earlier Nikki had the perfect sentence. I'm gonna look to Nikki.
I think I said something like, hold preliminary discussion and return at future EDTC meeting.
Sounds good.
For action or something like that, yeah.
So is there a motion to move this to the end of the items?
Commissioner Rice will motion that.
Thank you.
I second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Dariani. All right, and with those modifications, then that would be a motion to approve the agenda with modifications.
And just to, this is Daniel Degu, Economic Development Coordinator, and just to, for the record, also rearranging the items to have this item go after the item 9C currently on your agenda, correct?
Yes, we're swapping 9B and 9C.
Great.
All right, so,
And starting with Vice Chair McNeil.
yes.
Commissioner Rice.
Yes.
Commissioner Dariani.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
And Commissioner Fan. Oh, Commissioner Fan, I can't hear you. I believe you're on mute. Commissioner Fan, are you there? Okay, I will mark Commissioner Fan absent for this item.
Okay. All right, I assume that passes. Next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. And just a reminder, for any member who was not at our February 14th meeting, the recommendation is that you should abstain from approving. All right, so is there a motion to approve the minutes from our Valentine's Day meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 14, 2022.
I'll second it.
Yep. Commissioner Rice will second that.
We had Commissioner Jones beat her to the punch.
All right, and starting with Vice Chair McNeil,
Yes,
Commissioner Rice,
Yes.
Commissioner Dariani,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
and Commissioner Fan.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
you're welcome.
The next item on the agenda is our public forum. And I know Chair Norwood gives this great speech before talking about this, but I'm not sure what he says. But anyway, do we have anyone from the public who would like to address the commission?
Vice Chair McNeil, we have no raised hands from the public.
All right,
And for future reference, if we scroll, you'll see the language under 7, agenda item 7, that Chair Norwood typically reads.
can somebody scroll down, please?
Do you see my screen?
Yes, but I only see up to 7.
Oh,
I don't see below 7.
Correct.
See up to 6, I believe.
May need
Oh.
to,
yeah, sorry, I don't know. Let me reshare my screen. Is that better?
that is better.
That is, yes.
Does Commissioner, our chair, read this whole thing?
He does.
That's a lot to read. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't read it. All right. So going on to the next item on the agenda, that's announcements. So I'd like to open it up for our commissioners for any announcements. There are no announcements. I'd like to say a couple of things, and that's if you recall, we had the 18th annual MUSD crab feed and auction that was scheduled earlier this year, and due to some COVID protocols and COVID requirements, they moved it out. So it is now scheduled for Friday, April the 8th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Milpitas Community Center. And again, that's hosted by the Kiwanis Club of Milpitas Foundation, and that is the 18th annual MUSD crab feed and auction. And if someone else was planning to present that, I'm sorry I stole your thunder. Another thing is that just something I read in the news is I see that our real estate, commercial real estate, has been booming. There was another purchase in this past couple of weeks of a parcel of land that sold for $60 million, and it was previously purchased 2 years ago for the same piece of land for like 44 million. And so such a huge increase in a matter of 2 years means that our commercial real estate values have increased significantly. And so a lot of demand out there. So that's just something I noticed. And finally, for all of the other nerds out there, happy Pi Day, 3.14. So go get your pie. All right, other announcements from commissioners?
Nope.
All right, moving on to announcements from our city council liaison. And I understand our council, or our chair, our council member Dominguez is not here today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so we'll move down. We'll move down to city staff announcements.
Good afternoon, everyone. Alex Andrade, Director of Economic Development. The staff does have some announcements. I'm going to start with Nikki Inamine, please.
Good afternoon, Economic Development and Trade Commissioners. I wanted to share some news with you all today. My last day with the city of Milpitas is this Friday. Oh, Vice Chair McNeil's background.
Sorry, had to do that.
Thank you. Yes, it's my last day coming up this Friday. I have accepted a position with the City of Fremont's Economic Development team, so I will not be very far at all. I'm sure our paths will cross again, but in this time that I have been with Milpitas, it has been an absolute pleasure, and it's been really wonderful working with this commission. So thank you.
Nikki, thank you so much for everything you've done. We hate to see you leave, but we hope all the best for you and excited about your future. So congratulations.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you so much.
Yes, congratulations, Nicole. Well deserved.
Thank you, commissioners.
So question is, who's going to fill up your big shoes there?
Good question. I believe you're hiring.
We are hiring, and I've been working with our Human Resources Department today, and we are supposed to be issuing a recruitment announcement today that will be open through April 3rd. So it's about a 3 week, 3 weeks, so 15 business days. And so once that email is ready to go, it'll be sent to me. I'm going to forward it to you. So please forward it to any interested parties. It's an economic development specialist position, and you'll have all the information necessary. If you need more details, please give me a call. I will also take the time to say thank you very much, Nikki. You've been a great addition to our team. You've done excellent work. We're going to miss you, but like you said, you won't be too far away. So hopefully we will be in touch.
Thank you, Alex.
You're very welcome. So next I'm going to go to Daniel Degu, who is going to give an update as well.
Hi, Alex. I don't have any updates for announcements, but I do have item to present on in new business as it relates to the Milpitas My Plan program.
Thank you, Daniel. So I'm going to go to Eddie Trong, who does have an update on the American Rescue Plan Act.
Thank you, Alex. I have 2 updates. First is the ARPA Small Business Assistance Grant Program, and the second update has to do with the Hotels Assistance Grant Program. As the program closed for the Small Business Grant Program, this is the $5,000 grants given to small businesses that are eligible within city limits of Milpitas. We have 350 applications that have been submitted for the program. I want to also share some key metrics for the program as well, which is that 25% of all applications were received in the first 3 days, while 50% of the applications were received within the final 5 days of the program, representing about 75% of all applications submitted, meaning that in general, this program has about early movers and also the ones who also moved at the last minute to submit grant applications towards the very end of the program. We have enough grant funding for about 280 small businesses through the American Rescue Plan dollars. And so by all metrics, I think that we have been fairly successful in terms of applications received and those businesses needing assistance. The second update has to do with the ARPA's Hotels Assistance Grant Program. This is the $10,000 grants that we are giving to the 20 hotels within city limits of Milpitas. As of today, we have sent out grant award letters to about 5 of those hotels. And so we're expecting to receive the signed award letters by this Friday, and we'll be shortly distributing the $10,000 grants within a matter of weeks. And staff is still proactively reaching out to the other hotels to also submit applications. Last week, Alex and I were personally canvassing some of the hotels out there to also encourage them to submit applications. And we're making good progress, but the first tranche of funding will be the 5 that I just mentioned today. And with that, those are my updates.
I do see Commissioner Dariani with a digital hand up.
Thank you, Alex. Just a question about these grants. I'm really glad to see that we received so many applications for $5,000 and then applications for $10,000 grant to hotel. Can somebody elaborate what was the evaluation criteria? How did we reach the final outcome that was eligible to receive those grants?
Thank you, Commissioner Dariani. So for the small business grant program, the eligibility criteria primarily focus on the size of the business. So they must have between 1 to 25 employees. Also includes sole proprietors if they are a single sole proprietor as well. The business must also have a commercial storefront within the city limits of Milpitas, with the exception of home-based daycare centers. That was a carve-out exemption made by the city council. The other eligibility criteria also includes that the business must have an active business license, with the exception of home-based daycare centers. And then they must also be in good standing with the city of Milpitas, such as no code enforcement checks or no active violations with the city.
Thank you. I think that's very good. How about hotels?
For the hotels, I don't think we have as stringent of an eligibility criteria for the hotels, just because the city council has identified specifically 20 hotels that would be eligible for them, and there's only those 20. And so, so long as the hotels submit an application and demonstrate a negative economic impact or consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic, they would be eligible for the grant.
So negative economic impact is a criteria to be eligible.
And that, yes, and that's primarily due to our reporting requirements with the Treasury Department.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, any other announcements?
The only thing I would say is, in order to prepare for item 9, if someone can please promote Principal Planner Jay Lee.
I think I saw him promoted already.
Oh, okay, good. So Chair McNeil, that is it for us. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So without any further announcements, I'd like to move on to our business items and 9A. And if you recall from our last meeting, we had asked specifically for an update on the Milpitas Gateway and the Main Street specific plan. They'll be presented today by Ned Thomas, who's our planning director, and Jay Lee, our principal planner. So I'd like to move on to business item 9A.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'll do a quick introduction and turn the time over to Jay, who has the presentation. Jay is our principal planner. He's also the project manager for the specific plan update. Several years ago, we had started an update, and then we had to shelve it while we were completing the general plan. And now, as we've completed the general plan and we'll soon complete the other specific plan, the metro specific plan done by the Milpitas Transit Center, we now have time to pick up the Gateway specific plan. The consultants are underway, as you will see, and have completed some of their initial tasks. And Jay will lay out sort of the framework for that plan, as well as the schedule and upcoming items. So I'll turn the time over to Jay. We're very happy to have the opportunity to present this information to you today.
Thank you, Ned, for the introduction, and good evening, I guess, commissioners. As Ned mentioned, we are very happy to be here to provide a quick update on this important project. I think many people have heard of the Milpitas Metro specific plan, but this is also another specific plan that we're updating, which is just north of the Metro Plan bar station area. So a bit different of an area, maybe not as large in scale, but equally important, especially as it relates to our local businesses and our economy. So yeah, I'm here to provide an update. Next slide, please. So I do want to start by giving a brief overview of our specific plan goals. And I believe these two maps illustrate that pretty well. So the map on the left just shows the specific plan areas, as I mentioned, the Metro Plan and what we're calling this place now, the Gateway Main Street specific plan. It was formerly known as the Midtown specific plan. And I'll explain the name change in a little bit and the rebranding. But you can see both specific plans on the map to the left. And the red shows the previous or I guess orange and red show the previous boundary of the Midtown specific plan. And we are looking into changing that boundary to reflect the current development context, as a lot of development has occurred on the southern end that you can call it a tail that you see on the south of the Midtown plan area, and also just to create a more easily recognizable plan area boundary that follows a more logical shape. And the map to the right really shows our new focus on 3 focus areas. The previous plan area and the current plan area is actually quite large, and it's we've learned that it's been a little bit difficult to focus with such a large plan area. So we are planning on focusing on these 3 focus areas that you see there. The first one is, of course, Main Street. The second one is centered around Cascades Boulevard, as it serves as a gateway to our city. And also, lastly, the I-880 freeway, also the Abbott area, where you see a little bit more industrial and office uses there. So 3 different focus areas, and these are areas for redevelopment. We also have identified some areas that we are calling preservation areas. So the Midtown area being a very diverse, having a very diverse land use, you see a lot of residential, low density residential uses in the area, and we are not proposing to change those neighborhoods, but really seeing them as preservation areas. And then, of course, we also have identified future study areas that are currently occupied by special land uses, such as the Elmwood Correctional Facility or the Union Pacific Railroad property. These are areas that that we could see potential development in the future, but perhaps not in the immediate future. So we've kind of categorized the areas according to how we see them redeveloping or not in the future. Next slide, please. Okay, and I do want to go over the work that we've completed so far. This slide is really focused on the land use, zoning, and urban form analysis, which is the main component of the existing conditions that we've completed. But thus far, we've done a lot of outreach to our staff, to some community development roundtable members, and we will continue to do outreach, which will be our one of our major initial steps. The other piece of our work, especially early on, is the existing conditions, and that's where this analysis comes in. I do want to mention that we have many other studies that will soon follow. So this one is focused on more of the planning perspective, the urban design perspective, but we have future studies, that relate to other topics, and I'll go over them in a little bit more detail later on, just to when I go over the next steps. But this analysis covers several topics. I focused on the topics that I think are the most relevant to this group, but at the same time, I do want to mention that there are other topics that I'm not going to go over that were also covered in this analysis. For example, the front setbacks and how it can relate to street activation, the block pattern for the area, historic, cultural, and social resources that currently exist, existing neighborhoods, parks and open space, and transportation. But I'll be going over some of the other topics to follow right now. Next slide, please. So one thing that we definitely looked at is the intensity and height. And as you can see, the current densities for this area, especially along Main Street, which we do envision as being a mixed-use corridor, are probably a little bit on the low end. So, we see the building heights there, which aren't much higher than, at least except for a few areas, aren't much higher than 30, 40, 50 feet. And you see the densities that range from single family low density residential neighborhood to densities up to 60 dwelling units per acre. But through this analysis, what we discovered is that the maximum height might be a limiting factor along Main Street, and also that the densities are kind of in the no man's land between townhomes and podium apartments. So, they are higher than low density residential neighborhoods, but maybe not quite enough to result in developments where we may start to see some apartments and have a diverse mix of housing types. Next slide. And now I do want to go over the focus areas. So, as you can see, this is the first focus area, which is Main Street. And this area, we're envisioning for mixed-use redevelopment on the vacant or underutilized sites. We also anticipate public realm improvements to transform Main Street into a community gathering space. And we are also imagining various roadway, sidewalk, bike, and trail connections, which our analysis, transportation analysis will help determine. And then also we anticipate seeing some gateway improvements to really announce that you're coming into what we're calling the heart of Milpitas. Next slide, please. The next focus area is Cascades Boulevard. Perhaps some of the more visible areas in our city as you exit the freeway and come into Milpitas. But definitely a focus here is to redevelop Sarah Center, which is currently underutilized. And to also, to also implement some complete street improvements on Cascades Boulevard. Of course, we recognize that Cascades is never going to become a small street a local street where you're traveling maybe one lane in each direction. But we do think there's opportunity to have it be a more complete street with multimodal improvements. And this is definitely an area where we can see, opportunity for branding, streetscape, and wayfinding signage improvements. And we also we also see an opportunity off of Sarah Way, as you can see by the dotted arrow moving east, that there is a potential to improve Sarah Way as a gateway corridor that leads into Main Street. Because right now it's not the most visible entrance to Main Street, and we want people who either live in our city or drive through our city or visit our city to really be aware of this unique place. Next slide. And last but not least, the third focus area, I-880 freeway, Abbott Avenue. And currently, we do envision having some infill development on some vacant, of course, the vacant county parcel that you see in orange, but also, seeing if there's opportunity to introduce some more higher density employment generating land uses in these areas. And we do see an opportunity for new roadway connections as there are some obstacles right now. And also some opportunities for branding along the freeway frontage, as it's a very visible area, especially for those traveling along the freeway. And also to help turn this area into a more cohesive and attractive business center with better connections to the surrounding area as well. Next slide. And I do want to go over a little bit of a scale comparison, which I think is quite illuminating as it relates to just the size of the area, compared to other areas that we are well aware of. So, we've looked at Santana Row, Japantown in San Jose, and Castro Street, Mountain Views downtown. And, as you can see, Main Street is quite a large area and it's very long. And I think that's one of the challenges to Main Street is that it's difficult to establish an identity when your Main Street is so long. So, we really want to emphasize, turning Main Street into a complete and vibrant street that, is a place where people can come to visit Milpitas and have access to a wide variety of amenities. Next slide. And we also want to do a scale comparison of the Midtown plan area. And as you can see, we've overlaid the boundaries on some other downtown areas. We're probably all familiar with downtown Sunnyvale, which is quite large, but you can see it's kind of hard to tell, but it's that collection of larger buildings in the middle of the overlaid Midtown plan boundaries. So, you can see that it's quite small, relative to Midtown. So you can just see how large Midtown is. And then we also overlaid it onto San Diego's downtown, which is larger, but you just start to see the scale of this area. Next slide. And I did want to go over the opportunities and constraints that we've identified based off of this initial analysis. And I do want to caution that this is a work in progress. It's preliminary, but we thought it was a good starting point. And as we continue to go through the analysis, as we continue to do community outreach and gain and obtain more feedback from all the stakeholders, this can definitely be refined. But for now, these are some of the opportunity areas that we've identified. As you can see, it's been categorized into vacant parcels, underutilized parcels, historic parcels within opportunity sites, park and open space opportunity sites, redevelopment opportunity sites, and potential future study areas. And of course, there is some overlap, but you're starting to see, where there are opportunities for redevelopment. And I do want to kind of go real quickly through the various opportunities and constraints that we've identified. As you can see on the slide, we are going to focus on certain areas, and we have tried our best to categorize these areas into focus areas, preservation areas, feature study areas. We see that there are a lot of civic, historic, cultural, and educational facilities in this area. There is opportunity for catalytic redevelopment. And as I mentioned earlier, low height and density maximums, relatively large blocks, and inconsistent setbacks. There is an opportunity for urban parks, plazas, and small open spaces. We also have existing creeks and greenways. So, we may not see enormous parks in this area, but we think that there are ways to be creative in how we provide open spaces and green spaces in a more urban setting that is relatively more built out. We also see that there are several connectivity barriers, whether it's grade separation, namely Cascades Boulevard, creeks and railways, which are not easy to cross, and then also cul-de-sacs. And then we did want to mention that there are frequent curb cuts and minimal street parking, which makes it a little bit more difficult to redevelop the corridor as a complete street, and and then provide some more development that lines the streets. And then a positive thing to note is that there is proximity to the BART station to the south, also BTA light rail and bus services. And we also see an opportunity for streetscape improvements and branding. Next slide, please. All right, so before concluding the presentation, I did want to go over the project schedule and the next steps. The next step is to wrap up the existing conditions analysis. There's a lot of information on here, so this shows the entire schedule, all the way until plan adoption. But I do want to highlight we have a lot more pieces of the existing conditions analysis coming up. One of them is transportation. Another one is market analysis, and other analysis as well. The market analysis in particular will be a high-level real estate market analysis to evaluate market support for new development in the plan area, and it'll be based on current and future anticipated market conditions. So that's one piece to look out for. I do want to mention, after the existing conditions and the community outreach, we will go into creating the strategy, the overall strategy for the plan, and then preparing drafts of the plan. And there are some parts of the plan and the strategy that I think are of special interest to this group. And to mention a few of them, in addition to the opportunity sites for redevelopment, the sub-consultant, so our main consultant is Ascent Environmental, and they have a sub-consultant, Bay Area Economics. They will complete a retail audit of the zoning code, which is essentially a review of the zoning code and the specific plan and development standards to see what kind of recommendations we could propose that would help redevelop the area and expand the retail in the area. They will also prepare a retail strategies memo. So based off of the retail audit, they will prepare a memo that describes economic development and retail strategies to help reposition the area as an area where local retail will congregate, and it will provide some opportunities for specialty retail solutions for activating the main street frontage, and also retail strategies for business attraction. And we will also look into really expanding upon the economic strategy actions related to the property-based business improvement district. So we do think that there is some opportunity and support for implementing a district where you can focus on improvements, and and also a capital improvements program and a financing plan, which will help finance these public improvements. And lastly, I do want to mention that we have set aside funds for a strategic property acquisition revenue fund. BAE will evaluate the portfolio of city-owned properties and estimate revenue generation potential, any required initial investment, and timing of potential revenue. So there definitely is a strong focus on economic redevelopment, understanding that that'll be a key issue for this area. So so that concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, we'll open the meeting to questions. Commissioner Terriani, I see your hands up first.
Thank you for great presentation. I appreciate it. It's very informative. A couple of questions. If you go back to the slide where there's a vacant space near Honda dealership. Yeah. One other thing that I've noticed that accessibility to that area is limited. What are your plans? Either you have to go through the facility, correction facility that is there, or go through Tasman area. There's no accessibility to that area from Cascades Boulevard to that particular area. Are there any plans to provide accessibility to that land?
Yeah, that's actually, you bring up a great example because although we're still working on the transportation analysis and we will come out with recommendations in the future. Staff, we've already identified that as an opportunity to improve connections. So as you see South Abbott Avenue as it travels to the left, but really going south, it ends at a cul-de-sac, and then you see Thompson Court. I can't show, well, yeah, so basically you see Thompson Court to the east, so further south to the east of the vacant parcel, and it ends, or it turns into another street. So you see kind of two cul-de-sacs there that are not connected. So we have identified an opportunity to potentially connect those cul-de-sacs so that anybody could access the site from both directions.
Yeah, even then, go ahead.
But yeah, I think there are different ways to address this issue, but that's just one of the potential solutions we've identified.
Okay, so I look at that like a landlocked area. Accessibility is limited, for lack of any other word. So thank you for clarifying that. And then on the main street, you said the main street is a long street. I agree. Maybe one option you can consider is doing in phases, break up Main Street into say 2 or 3 phases and saying this phase you're going to develop it first and the next phase, because Main Street is kind of interesting combination of commercial, residential, there are even temples there. So it's going to be a challenge to develop that area. So only option that again, you can consider is break it up into smaller pieces and develop in a piecemeal fashion rather than trying to develop creating a plan for the entire Main Street. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. That's a great suggestion. And that's something that we can definitely look at when we come up with the implementation actions, because usually you have a timing aspect to it. So some of these will be, immediate future, immediate improvements. Some of them could be midterm, long-term. So thank you. That's a great suggestion.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. That's a great presentation.
I've got a question, and this regarding the timeline. So currently, when you look at your timeline, you've come up in February, a preferred plan and strategies. Now, what we heard in this presentation was a lot of, challenges, generics, but I didn't hear very specific information about a direction or plan that we're going towards. I mean, I know when I was part of the workshops that we had last year, we discussed Main Street maybe becoming another Santana Row, something similar to that type of atmosphere. Of course, that was a vision, and I'm sure there were many other visions. So where are we as far as coming up with that clear preferred plan and vision?
It's a great catch, because I would say the schedule is a little misleading because we just recently updated the schedule and we haven't finalized it yet, but we recognize that we are a little behind due to some contract issues. So we are not as far along as this schedule may present. We are still probably more in the plan boundary data gathering and assessment phase. So, we will be soon, after we complete these existing conditions analysis, we will soon be coming up with the strategies, but that's something that we could, return here and provide an update. But a lot of that will be based off of, our community, the outreach that we do, and other factors, and more of our existing conditions. So But that's, Santana Row, I think, is always mentioned as a great example, because it is a great example. We do want to always shoot for, Main Street and this area as a whole, to have mixed use, vibrant redevelopment. But, we also want it to be unique in Milpitas and really maintain the local businesses and, do what we can with our context. But yeah, we're just not as far along as maybe this schedule shows to be able to present a little more detail on what our vision is.
Thank you. You have additional, go ahead.
May I have a question? This question is for Eddie. I noticed that the library, Milpitas library, we have those electronic, on the board is running like events or important dates of their activities, events. And I don't know if it's too much to ask that the City Hall has the same thing in front of it, in front of the City Hall, like a running electronic, board, those signs saying that City Hall has these commissions, how to apply for it, or important dates, events that the city is promoting. Because many residents, they said they don't know much about events that the city is promoting, so they cannot attend. By the time they know, it's already passed. One thing. And the other thing is, when I asked them to come to City Hall to have a meeting or something with us, then they don't know where the City Hall Milpitas is, and they say it's like not visible. So is there a way you can have a post, a poll, or something to say this is Milpitas City Hall? Because I told them the address, and to them it's hard to find our City Hall, even though I give them the address. It's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Eddie.
Chair, may I respond?
Yes, please, Alex.
Yeah, Commissioner Fan, at City Hall facing Calaveras, there's a digital billboard, and that billboard is running, I believe, if not 24/7, very frequent. And every 7 or 8 seconds, it's scrolling to the next bit of information. So we do utilize that as a space for events, things that are happening around town. So that's just one way. We do have a public information officer that we partner with here that's part of our city manager's office. So we're always constantly looking for ways for community engagement and outreach. Also, as it relates to our location, we're right at the corner of Calaveras and South Milpitas Boulevard. You can always have them contact us at the Office of Economic Development, and we're happy to help direct people to where they need to go.
That, excuse me, but that running board that you mentioned, the spot that we put it is not that visible. It's kind of, when people driving, passing that area, it's hard to catch that running board. Not literally saying they cannot stop and to read what is, running on the board. I'm thinking that maybe another better spot to put that border, like exactly in the front of the City Hall or somewhere that, with people driving, they're not gonna.
I think those are good.
Look.
I think those are great comments. I'd like to, and I think that's something that we can definitely address. I'd like to turn the attention a little bit more towards the focus of the Milpitas Gateway. I can see where your comments are very applicable, because people need to know about these events, and whether the announcements are in front of the library are very important. So I think that's something that we consider. And Alex, if you could take that. But I do see other questions. I want to get back to the Milpitas Gateway. And The Assistant City Manager, was there a question? I saw your hand raised. Ashwani?
Oh, yes, Chair McNeil, that's fine. It was on this topic. I just wanted to note that we actually working on 3 different digital signs coming up in locations around the city with the same information that Commissioner Fan was asking about. So I just wanted to note that.
Fantastic, because that would be good. I mean, I think where she was going is that we've got these great events coming up with
Right.
Milpitas Gateway Plan, and people need to know about that so they can participate.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Other questions regarding the plan that was this Gateway and Main Street specific plan? So I did have a couple more questions. So when we, and I think you touched on this, Jay, is that when we go look at a plan, because currently Main Street has, property owners. And if there is a vision that for some of this property, how do we go about approaching current business owners to buy into a plan such as Sierra Way or the current properties that we have on Main Street?
Yeah, I could speak a little bit about that. Part of the analysis was to see what all the property owners are and categorize them in the entire area. So there are some major property owners and there are individual ones, of course, and we will focus the outreach to do, to reach out to them through interviews, community meetings, maybe group the owners together, various ways to reach out to them and get their feedback and share, what some of our hopes are for the sites. And I know that economic development, works closely, in many instances with these property owners, and they're really in tune with what they're hoping to do as well. So I'm sure we'll work very closely with, Alex's team to really, find ways to build those relationships and provide them an opportunity to, provide meaningful feedback. And really, this is also, the plan is an opportunity where we can hear from our property owners, and we're willing to, as a team, we're willing to adjust our strategies based off of what their needs are. So maybe Alex, you could provide more details, or Ned, feel free to chime in.
Ned, if Ned is still with us, he certainly can chime in. I will say that, at least on behalf of economic development, that our economic development coordinator, Daniel Degu, is our representative that's working closely with Jay and the team. And we're always looking to build relationships. A lot of the work that we do is about relationships and bridge building. So we're not only communicating with the businesses, but also the property owners. So we're going to be working side by side with the planning department on outreach and engagement.
I mean, because that can't be very easy when you have a cohesive vision and you need the buy-in from many different groups that would be part of that. Because if we want to have a Main Street gateway that has a certain type of atmosphere, it may be hard to have all these modular, singular property owners all agree to do whatever it takes to get to that vision.
Agreed. Yeah, it's absolutely vital, especially if we're looking at development that would require site assembly, meaning multiple parcels are being assembled for a larger development. So communication with our property owners is absolutely critical. So we will be engaged in that way.
And that is something we can incentivize through some zoning tools to incentivize parcel assemblage. And also you're right in that a lot of the vision will be realized kind of on a piece by piece basis. We'll try our best, some improvements will happen corridor wide, but a lot of it, we establish the policy and the development framework. And we let the property owners and developers ultimately and hopefully fulfill that vision on a project by project basis. So it's kind of a mix of both.
All right, other comments, questions? Nikki, are there any public comments?
Vice Chair McNeil, there are no raised hands for public comment.
All right, is there a recommendation to receive this update? Or is there a motion? Sorry, thank you, Commissioner Jones, for making the motion to receive. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Fan. All right.
Starting with Vice Chair McNeil,
Yes.
Commissioner Rice,
Yes.
Commissioner Dariani,
You're on mute.
Commissioner Dariani might be muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones
Yes.
and Commissioner Fan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ned and Jay. All right, moving on to business item 9C. We've moved it up to be 9B. This is the Milpitas My Plan Career Accelerator Program, and Daniel Degu will be with our Economic Development Coordinator, will be presenting this plan or program.
Thank you, Vice Chair McNeil, and good afternoon, distinguished members of the Economic Development and Trade Commission. So today's presentation will primarily focus on the Milpitas My Plan Career Accelerator Program and our successes with our first cohort of participants. But before I get into the details and information sharing of the program, I'm going to first start with just some background on the program. I know we have a few new commissioners, and just kind of get everyone up to speed as to how we arrived where we are today, and then go into the information. So I have a few slides as background just to start. Thank you, Nikki. Okay, background. So this body of work first commenced as the COVID-19 Workforce Recovery Program back in 2021 in response to the devastating impact of COVID-19. The purpose of the COVID-19 Workforce Recovery Program is to increase access to career pathway programs and help Milpitas residents with barriers to employment enter the workforce in skilled occupations. To successfully implement this program, we needed to partner with our local workforce agency, NovaWorks. And NovaWorks was essentially contracted to assist in providing programmatic implementation of the city's COVID-19 Workforce Recovery Program. This is a two-phase program. Phase one is really focused on a comprehensive workforce needs assessment that involves surveys and interviews, while phase two is focused on the implementation of a workforce development program. And that's the Milpitas My Plan program that you'll be learning about today. The successful completion of this program allows the city to take a more proactive role to rebuild our once robust, vibrant local economy, as well as complete several strategies and actions listed in the City Council's adopted economic development strategy. Next slide, please. So as a refresher, there were 7 key takeaways from our phase one workforce needs assessment. In summary, the pandemic disrupted the workforce and the way a business conducts its operation, unlike any modern economic downturn. There were businesses that were closing during this time of phase one. People were losing jobs throughout the city and the county and the nation. And so there were really a lot of residents and businesses were continuing to really reassess their future as they struggled for greater resiliency. Workers specifically sought out opportunities in new industries, focused on key skills related to professional and career development. And so given all of these learnings and based on these findings, the City Council on November 2nd approved launching the Milpitas My Plan Career Accelerator Program for phase two implementation. Next slide, please. So this program is a 3-week program. It's very intense, and it provides residents with customized access to job search tools and information. This is a free program that offers residents workshops, assessments, career navigation, and career counseling. The program has been funded to provide 2 cohorts, 15 students each. We just completed our February cohort on March 3rd, and we'll be launching our April cohort on April 4th. And I'll give more information on that in a future slide. There's 21 total hours of available training over the 3-week program and 60 total hours of one-on-one career advising provided by NovaWorks staff. Next slide, please. So to ensure that the Milpitas residents are aware of the services offered during phase 1 and phase 2, the Office of Economic Development leveraged key resources and networks to maximize community engagement through various outlets and community partners. We conducted very robust social media and website promotion. We did digital, print, and email marketing. We reached out to various homeowner associations, community-based organizations, worked with housing advocates, provided presentations, and also did a lot of word of mouth throughout the community. I would like to especially thank the City Council, city staff from various internal departments, the Milpitas Chamber of Commerce, Milpitas Unified School District, and the Economic Development and Trade Commission for your continued support during our marketing and outreach campaigns, as these partnerships have really allowed us to reach residents in need of this program and also have them participate through the program. So it's been a very successful outreach campaign through and through from phase 1 to phase 2. Next slide, please. Okay, this is where I'll get into the February cohort that was just completed in early March. Next slide. Okay, so we had 15 people enroll in the February cohort, so we were able to fulfill and get everyone enrolled. There was 148.5 hours of workshops attended by participants. 10 out of the 15 participants completed all of their one-on-one advising appointments. We have 5 that are currently working on scheduling with NovaWorks staff to fulfill their one-on-one advising. The employment status for many of the participants, we had 11 unemployed, 3 employed part-time, and 1 person was employed full-time. 11 of them had a bachelor's degree or higher, 2 had an associate degree, and 2 had a high school or GED level equivalent certificate. So you're starting to get a really clear idea of what the participants look like. Just generally speaking, in Milpitas, we are very well educated as a city. And so to see information such as 11 people with bachelor's degrees isn't really a surprise, as we do have a pretty well educated background in Milpitas. Next slide, please. So participants were surveyed after each workshop. We received 49 responses, and overall, the responses were exceptional. We had a 3.85 out of 4.0 score as a weighted average from the participants. And essentially everyone said either they exceeded the expectations or it met their expectations. We didn't have anyone fill a survey saying that we did not meet the expectations or it was a poor program. Everyone that participated thoroughly enjoyed the courses that were offered through NovaWorks. So that's very exciting to hear. And we'll be getting more information over the next month through this cohort as there's going to be continued engagement between NovaWorks staff and the participants. So we'll have more to share in a future EDTC meeting.
I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. I'm sorry, Daniel. So you had 49 responses, but in the previous slides, you showed only 15 participants in the February. So the 49 responses are from both the participants and who else?
So it's from the participants, but they are taking several courses throughout the 3 weeks. So there's about 8 courses that they can be participating in throughout the program. So every time they go through a course, they're filling out a survey. So that's why you're seeing a high volume of responses, because there's a lot of the participants who are going through more than one course.
That makes sense. So what would the sample size be? In other words, if we looked at 49 responses, does that mean we had a 40% response rate, a 10%, a 20? What's the reference point there?
Yeah, so I don't have that information. We just got this information on Friday from NovaWorks staff. So I don't have the specifics as to what the response rate is, but from my understanding, I believe it's very high. But we can follow up with NovaWorks staff this week as they're kind of going through the data to provide that information to the commission. And I will share that there will be a report that will be generated that has all information of the phase 2 program as far as data, such as the question that's been asked, And in this report, it'll be available in June. It will cover all of this comprehensive information. So this is really the early information that we've been able to gather in preparation for this meeting today.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's obvious we'd want to, just like we've given the overall rating of 3.85 out of 4, that gives us a reference point to know if it was good or not. So thank you. I think you get the point. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy to take further questions on this slide or other slides if needed. I do have a few more slides before I wrap up, but happy to take questions if needed.
Yeah, Daniel, go ahead and go through. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just I was lost and couldn't process. Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Daniel, I have a quick question. What kind of benchmarks did we have for this program? Was it, cost per person going through the program? I mean, other than just the rating, do we have any other KPIs that we were looking to achieve with it? Number of participants, et cetera?
We do have KPIs as far as number of participants, as far as expectations for the program, deliverables, if they're able to get a job after the completion of the program in 1 month. So there are various things, and a lot of these models are based off of the NovaWorks model that they use for their in-house services for working with residents. But again, we're going to be able to provide all of that in June, but there are definitely metrics on those fronts as well. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, I have a follow-up question from the people who go through the program. Do you have follow-up to that to see whether they were able to, if you're unemployed, whether they were able to get some employment, or they were underemployed, they were able to get a better employment? Do you have any follow-up program to see how this program is helping the community?
Yes. So yes, there will be. The program for the February cohort ended on March 4th. So we don't have any data at this point, but yes, they will be continuing to work with NovaWorks staff as the program ends, and then they'll likely be enrolling in the NovaWorks program, which I have a future slide on that shows that they'll begin ongoing support from NovaWorks as well, as some have preferred to use those types of services going forward to help prepare themselves to land a job, find a better job, or improve their overall skills for the workforce, which is incredibly important and what we want to achieve with this program. So yes, there is ongoing connections between city, NovaWorks, and the resident going forward.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. If there are no questions, we can move on to the next slide, and then we can open up for questions after I'm finishing with these slides. Okay, so this is the next steps for the February cohort. We have 3 participants who have already enrolled in the NovaWorks program for additional services. We have 1 participant who's already engaged with online training being offered by NovaWorks. And again, this is just after the program concluded on March 4th. So there's going to be more information as we continue to have these engagements. NovaWorks has emailed all participants a survey about the overall program. We're also trying to learn how we can improve the model and also find ways to meet residents where they are and provide better services where we can. So we're getting information on that as we speak. And then there's also going to be that 1-month follow-up with each participant to see where they are in their job search and how they can be further assisted. So all of this is ongoing connections between NovaWorks, the city, and the resident. Next slide, please. Okay, so this here is feedback that we received from one of the participant, and I thought it was really nice, and so I decided to share it with the group here. And there are several others, and I'm happy to share this offline as well. But this person said, "It was beyond my expectation. Our facilitator was really knowledgeable and experienced. I learned a lot and actually enjoyed the workshop very much." So, and if you read through the other comments, very similar messaging where they are very grateful for the service, the cohort, and they actually want to see more of this. So it's very exciting to see. And we should all be very proud for the work that we're doing as a commission as it relates to this project, because all of this work that we're going into this is really helping the design of the program. So thank you all for that.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Next slide, please. And this is the next step. So we're continuing community outreach, recruitment, and enrollment for our April cohort. During that cohort, it will close on April 1st, the application, and then we'll begin the April cohort on Monday, April 4th. So we have applications already submitted. We're continuing to accept applications. If there are more applications than spots, we'll have to run a lottery to ensure that we're fair and equitable. But at this point in time, we're continuing to proceed with outreach and communication to our constituents. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's an evaluation phase 2 report that will be generated in June. So we will most certainly come back to the commission, most likely not in July because we have a recess, so in August with the phase 2 report and provide that information to the commission. And then this last slide here is just, next slide, please, which is slide 12. This is just a screenshot image of our webpage. We have a dedicated webpage to the Milpitas My Plan program. And you can see here, there's a box that you can click on for apply now, and then we accept applications that way. So happy to share more information. Any questions? Happy to take questions. But this is the conclusion of the presentation on Milpitas My Plan.
We'll open up to questions. Anyone? I guess. All right.
Nice job.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Very good job. Very encouraging to see the feedback. I think we all look forward to seeing how these participants fared, and so getting that 1 month follow-up is going to be very beneficial for us to hear. And so like to, if there's no questions, like to open up to public comments. Nikki, are there any public comments?
No raised hands for public comment, Vice Chair.
Okay. And is there a motion to receive this update?
I make a motion to receive the update.
All right. There's a motion. All right. I think I heard Commissioner Jones second.
Okay, starting with Vice Chair McNeil.
Yes.
Commissioner Rice.
Yes.
Commissioner Dariani.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
And Commissioner Fan.
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes. Well, we are then to our last business item, and this is something that Chair Norwood and myself were going to present, and with him out, I think he did that on purpose, left me being able to present this, but it's something that doesn't sound so revolutionary, but it is apparently none of the other commissions are doing it to this extent. And so this presentation is more a discussion, and my suggestion is that at the end is that we have a short discussion on this to present, let you think about it, and then our next meeting have a more robust discussion when Chair Norwood is back with us. So this is regarding commissioner roles and involvement. And the discussion came about is how to have our commissioners, we've got a great group of commissioners, have them more involved with some of the city programs and activities that are going on. And the question came about, well, could we have maybe ambassadors that could represent our commission in various functions? So it would give us each a chance to participate in some of the activities, and if we spread out ourselves enough so that our commission can have more of a presence. And Alex, I know that we had discussed this to a degree as well. Did you want to add to what I had just mentioned?
Yes, Acting Chair McNeil. I will first begin with Nikki. If you can please bring up the EDTC work plan that's been approved by our city council. I think that's a really good place to start. So I believe you can see on the shared screen when you look at the columns where it says topic, overall goal, and then next to that is the specific action. There are several bullet points that were added most recently. For example, under that first row, economic development strategy, that first bullet point under specific action required says EDTC commissioners may volunteer as ambassadors to assist in formal and informal business outreach as directed by staff, particularly along Main Street. So as an example, I didn't give you much time last Thursday, but we met with several business and property owners along Main Street to discuss the potential of the storefront improvement grant program for many of these business and property owners. And so it's efforts like that that we believe you could join us under your ambassador role. For example, if you look under that same column, there is a great opportunity for us to obtain information from you, the commission, in various expertise in hospitality, workforce development matters, business related matters, of course, volunteer opportunities. You've done really a great job as it relates to Manufacturing Day, of which this year in 2022, we will proceed with our 6th annual. And you've been participants in various ways, whether one of you moderates or is a panelist or sets the stage for us. So we want to ensure that you are participating in the economic development activities that I think would benefit both us as staff and you as a commission. So anyway, I won't go through every bullet point, but we do look forward to listening to the commission to determine how is it that we as staff and the community can best utilize your expertise and efforts.
And when we put this idea, this concept in mind, the objective was not to inundate the commissioners on a lot of activities, but because we've got a good commission, is maybe a couple, being a sponsor or a ambassador for maybe a couple of these. That way we can get more visibility out there and see what we can do as a commission to improve. My thought was maybe one commissioner can represent us at each of the council member meetings. We could take turns, or that was one idea, as well as each of these bullet points that Alex just mentioned. We put together a list of who might be able to attend these, and as ambassadors, it's not that you won't be able to speak for the entire commission. It's more being a presence and being able to get feedbacks and let our presence known. And Daniel, I don't know if you also had any thoughts, concepts, or additional points.
Thank you, Vice Chair McNeil. No comments on mine. I think your narrative and Director Andrade's narrative is aligned with our conversations and my thoughts as well. So thank you for that.
All right. So since this is a discussion, I'd like to get any feedback from the other commissioners on their thoughts, initial thoughts, and we'll have additional thoughts and be able to put more of a discussion into this at the next meeting if we so vote to table that. But is there any discussions preliminary that we'd like to go over?
Yeah, I got some comment. I think this is a good start for what you presented. Maybe what we can do is we can ask all the commissioners to see what they are passionate about and ask them to lead that effort. There are a couple of nonprofit organizations I serve. We do the same thing. The board members, they said, okay, I'm very passionate about, say, for example, workforce development or international trade and commission. Then we give a baton to that commissioner to lead the way, lead the discussion in that specific area. And of course, it's a more collaborative effort. The commissioner can support the program, but somebody has to lead the way, the topic that they are passionate about, or the topic that interests them.
Agreed. Thank you, Commissioner Dariani. Other comments, Commissioner Rice, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Fan?
I love the idea. I think visibility and being out there with everyone is what it's about. So yeah, looking forward to having more dialogue around it.
Thank
Well,
you.
I just want to input that I'm new to this commission, but from what I listened to, I think that maybe Milpitas residents, maybe they don't know much about our commission. So is it okay that several of us take turns to pay some visit to some business, to to ask them to voice them out, and we want to listen to them in person and to show them that we do exist, or we are concerned, we do care, and we want to improve the aspect of the economic aspect of this city. To me, it's just outreach more in person as commission members of this EDTC. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Fan, I think that's exactly what we're going for, is more of an outreach, and I think we had specific items in mind, but I think reaching out to the community as a whole would be very beneficial as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rice, any comments, questions, concerns? You want to beat us up?
No, I'm just in the car, so I don't know if there's any feedback right now. So no, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I look forward to a more robust conversation about it, and just kind of different aspects of being out there and visibility. So yeah, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Are there any other comments? Are there any, Nikki, are there any public comments?
Vice Chair McNeil, no raised hand for a public comment.
I would like to recommend that we, someone make a motion to table this for full discussion at our next meeting.
Oh, Vice Chair McNeil, Director Andrade has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Director Andrade.
Thank you both. Just wanted to make sure that I remind people that this is exactly what we're intending to do. So if you look at that first bullet point, oh, it's just went away. Anyway, what I was going to say is that what we would like to do as staff is equip you with information and perhaps some speaking points. So where it says commissioners may volunteer as ambassadors to assist in formal and informal outreach as directed by staff, particularly along Main Street, we would really like to collaborate with you all. So perhaps we could meet with some of you where it's fewer than a quorum, and yeah, just really go through a training session. So we can invite you to more of these conversations that we're having with business owners and property owners as it relates to, perhaps in the future, if the city council is interested, to talk about the business improvement district. Or we certainly can talk to business and property owners about the storefront improvement grant program. These are just some items related to Main Street revitalization. I also will say that we recently had a conversation with Luther Jackson, who is with Nova Works, and you've heard of Nova Works because they are our workforce investment board, and Daniel is partnering with them under my plan. Nova Works has just received some grant funding from Brookings, I believe, and the New Orleans Foundation for what is known as the Hospitality Workers Initiative. And we had a conversation about that, and we're still learning more. But what they're trying to do is better understand hospitality workers' career awareness, motivation, and worker choice. And I know that we have one particular commissioner that is an expert in this arena. So that's an opportunity for us to partner with a commissioner or commissioners. That's just one example of how we may be able to proceed when it comes to roles and some potential responsibilities in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
So now I'll make the motion to table this topic for the next meeting for further discussion so that we can come up with some items, some action items.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Is there a
Seconded.
Thank you, Commissioner Dariani. All right, we have a vote, please.
Starting with Vice Chair McNeil,
Yes.
Commissioner Rice,
Yes.
Commissioner Dariani,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
and Commissioner Fan.
Yes.
Thank you, Nikki. Well, that leads us to our last item on the agenda, and that's adjournment. And I understand that if we don't adjourn, then Nikki's stuck with us for a lot longer.
You found the loophole.
Yeah.
And everybody just hang up.
Nikki, again, thank you so much. But is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I
Commissioner.
second it.
I got you, Commissioner Rice. Commissioner Rice. All right, Nikki, for the last time,
Last time.
can we have a roll call, please?
Vice Chair McNeil,
Yes.
Commissioner Rice,
Yes.
Commissioner Dariani,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
So if I say no, do you have to stay? Yes, it's.
and Commissioner Fan.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Nicola.
everyone. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 11th at 4:30. So thank you, everyone. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Nicole, and good luck in your new career.
Thank
And-
you.
And
Good
stay
luck.
Thank you,
connected.
Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Nikki.
so much.
Thank
Yes. Good.
Thanks,
good luck.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.